is the purge of the top generals leaves the military in a crisis. So nobody is safe. China's Xi is targeting his closest ally, or his close ally, in a purge. And how Trump's threat to Greenland made him a liability for Europe's far right. The damage has been done as Trump claims victory on Greenland. Europe loses trust, is what some people are reporting as well. A situation is dire for a Sicily town teetering on the cliff edge after a landslide. So that's something that's going on in Europe. And NATO chief says Europe should keep on dreaming if it thinks it can defend itself without the U.S. France snaps back at NATO chief Rutte in feud over Europe's defense muscle. And NATO chief Rutte, keep on dreaming if you think Europe could defend itself without U.S. as it happened. So definitely that's something that people are talking about as well. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer begins a visit to Beijing. UK seeks trade with China without triggering Trump's fury. So UK Starmer heads to China to repair ties as he navigates tension with the U.S. So definitely that is something going on with Europe. Iranian forces are massacred protesters fleeing burning market, witnesses say. So new Iranian video shows bodies piled in hospital and snipers on roof. Disappeared bodies, mass burials, and 30,000 dead. What is the truth of Iran's death toll? That is something that people are talking about as well. And Mexico shelves planned shipment of oil to Cuba amid U.S. tensions. Post Maduro, pressures build on Mexico over Cuba's new oil lifeline. So Mexico is weighing stopping oil shipments to Cuba amid concerns of Trump retaliation, is what some sources are saying. And Japan's pandas at Yuno Zoo. So I lost part of my heart. Last of Japan's pandas leave for China as ties fray, is what was being reported in The Guardian. So tearful goodbyes as Japan returns pandas to China and worsening ties between those countries. And Ørsted and Vestas share rises as European countries agree to a North Sea wind pact. Europe's offshore wind pact is a hedge against U.S. gas reliance. So definitely there's something going on in the oil space as well. And France's National Assembly approves banning under 15 from social media. Our children's brains are not for sale, Macron says France to fast track social media ban for those under 15 years of age, and all along those lines. And workers from Bangladesh sought jobs in Russia, but instead got sent to combat. So Russia offers cash bonuses and free prisoners and lures foreigners to replenish its troops in Ukraine. I don't know how to shoot, how African men have been tricked into fighting for Russia, is what is being reported in The Guardian. And Besant says a Greenland deal is much more fulsome for the U.S. So how Britain's bases in Cyprus could be a blueprint for Trump's Greenland deal. So definitely still some efforts going on with Trump and all along those lines. And Japan's Prime Minister Takachi's high approval rating slips ahead of the election. So Takachi's ratings dip as Japan heads into the election campaign. A crisis of confidence in the yen looms over Japan's Prime Minister Takachi's election gamble. So we'll see how this plays out as well. And UK right-wing reform attracts another conservative defector, as we reported yesterday, Sula Braverman, and definitely that's going on. So Chris Mason on BBC is saying both Tories and Labour feel the reform heebie-jeebies, and all in that space. And definitely there's more things going on with Minnesota. Tom Homan has been dispatched to Minnesota amid immigration operation fallout. So Greg Bovani loses his job and all in that space. And some federal agents are expected to leave as immigration leadership shifts. So definitely that's something going on with ICE and all in that space. Gun right groups blast Trump over Minnesota response. So definitely there are some people that are advocates of gun rights that were not pleased with the second shooting and all along those lines. And judge orders ICE chief to appear in court over potential contempt. Minnesota judge summons ICE leader to court and threatens contempt sanctions and all in that way. And Democrats and Republicans face a government shutdown over DHS funding. So Senate Democrats urge to demand real reform over ICE funding bill. So most of the government could shut down this weekend. ICE operations would still carry on. And National Weather Service is warning of a potential new winter storm. So, could another storm hit the East Coast this weekend? Forecasters are monitoring a potential nor'easter next weekend as deep freeze tightens its grip on New England. It's definitely even cold here, even though the snow and ice has pretty much started to melt and go away here in Durham, North Carolina, and all along those lines. But definitely, there might be some more winter weather coming our way. And America has reached a tipping point on fascism and on opposition to it. So that's what it was being reported by Robert Rake and everything like that. So definitely there's a lot going on in that space. Get ready to get to one or two more stories, and I'll bring my folks in. Trump's impeachment whistleblower, Alexander Vindman, is launching a run for Senate in Florida. So definitely, Trump whistleblower is challenging Moody for a Florida Senate seat. So we'll see how he does in that election. And brothers charged with sex trafficking wage campaign to shame accusers. So the Alexander brothers jury to hear openers in sex trafficking trial. So wealthy Florida brothers face trial over alleged decades of sexual abuse. So definitely the A team of real estate brokers face a sex crimes trial in New York. And Donald Trump has increased tariffs on South Korea imports to 25%. He's saying that he's raising tariffs on South Korea because it's not living up to its trade agreement and all in that space. So, like I said, going to bring my folks in and see what they've got to say about a number of these stories and other stories as well, because a lot's going on in the world, and always glad to bring these stories to the forefront and hear what people have got to say about a number of these stories that are out there and what is going on in their mind and with them and all along those lines. So, like I said, a lot's going on, and we're trying to get to my folks so they can say what they've got on their mind about a number of these stories and all in that way. But unfortunately, the computer is not trying to act right either. So you might have to go to the alternate way and all in that space. So if y'all hold on one second, I might have to switch devices and see what's going on in that way if I can't get to it the other way as well. But yeah, lots going on in the world, and always glad to be talking about what's happening in the world and in world news and all in that space. So if y'all hold on one second, I might have to go to an alternative method and all in that kind of ways, but we'll be right back. So hopefully folks will sit tight, and we'll be right back in 1 second if we can get there.
Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know how much of the report went through because this computer decided to lock up, but I think y'all got most of that and all along those lines. But how are you doing and how are things going in your world?
They're fine. Um, I got up way too early, so I'm going back to bed when we finish here.
I don't know, not back to bed.
Yeah, it's still only 7:12 in the morning.
Yeah, it's early in the morning. I was actually up at about, I think I got up about 8 something here. So I've been up for a few hours, but
So I just
I'm
been
still
reading
living.
an article about how pissed uh, ICE agents are about some of their coworkers. That
Wow.
if you're a long-term border patrol or ICE agent, you're probably pretty pissed at the recent conduct
Oh, yeah.
of your agency because it makes you all look bad. Um, so here's some quotes from this article. The brand new agents are idiots, an experienced ICE agent assigned to Homeland Security investigations told me. Um, a lot of the guys are honestly pretty sketchy, the new recruits. I thought federal agents were supposed to be clean cut, but some of them pass around a flask as we are watching a suspect. Some of them have weird tattoos. Uh, the tattoos, I'm told, are symbolic of the fact that the new recruits tend to be more ideologically motivated, which means,
Wow.
like, nobody knows how many January 6th Sixers are part of this whole deal.
Yeah, nobody knows that at all and everything along those lines. So definitely
One
that's
more,
something that.
one more thing.
Mhm.
Trump has been promising a $50,000 signing bonus if you join ICE, which is great money. I mean, you sign up, you get 50 grand. Turns out in the small print, now I haven't investigated to confirm this, but according to one report, in the small print on your contract, you're only entitled to the 50 grand if you remain an agent for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And
So you got to
who
see an
knows?
agent, but isn't that similar to what Putin is doing? Because as I reported earlier, and everything, apparently some people from Town have been recruited by Russia because they are needing additional folks. So he's been recruiting people from Bangladesh, Africa, other parts of Asia,
Yeah, and
and
they
other
get
places.
killed. They immediately get killed. They get sent to the front lines and get made dead pretty quick. You get. I mean, it's all part of human trafficking,
Right.
where you get a job offer for something that sounds pretty great. You go to a foreign country, they take your passport, and you find yourself on the front lines, or you find yourself being a sex worker with no way out, or you end up working
Right.
in a factory 100 hours. So yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it sounds very bad. I had a question for you because I know you follow tech even more than I do, but I understand that we have a deal with TikTok now. So what is this deal and what is going to be the accomplishment of this deal? Because apparently the US and TikTok have signed some sort of deal or have agreed to some sort of deal. So I was wondering,
So
what
there's
have
some
you heard
kind of
about this?
so I don't know the whole thing. I have yeah, they have American ownership now, but some people are accusing TikTok of, since it is being owned by somebody that Trump approves of, that people have claimed that if you try to post something about the Epstein files, they won't put it up.
Oh,
Other
wow.
people are saying they were able to post about Epstein with no problem, but censorship might be a problem.
Censorship could be a problem, particularly if it's a Trump friend. I think that's happened to a couple of other platforms as well. I mean, isn't that part of the complaint about X is that is run by a
So
Trump ally now too?
yeah, X. I used to get between 2,000 and 10,000 views every time I posted something before Musk bought it. Now I average 200 views. So yeah, they're it's partly because it's such a miserable place now that a lot of my friends left. But partly it's, yeah, if you are posting pissy stuff about Trump, the algorithm reduces your. Plus, I'm not paying Musk the blue check fee to be. It used to be you got a blue check if you
Yeah, you were verified. Yeah, they call
yeah.
it being
So
verified.
now it just means you're paying Trump Musk a subscription fee, and I haven't done that. I think about doing it just to get the because it's only $4 a month to get the extra exposure. But I kind of think that not being verified keeps me out of trouble because if I were more visible, saying anti-Trump stuff, more people would be pissed at me because it's such a Trump-heavy place now. So
Oh,
it's
is it
maybe
Trump
better
heavy now?
yeah, it's better I keep my head down. My wife is
Yeah,
yelling
that
from
makes
the
sense.
other
Sometimes
room.
you gotta keep
My wife is yelling from the other room.
what
Keep your head down. She doesn't want, us to get in trouble.
yeah, she doesn't want y'all to get in trouble. You know, you get in trouble all the time with your show, all naked at night, which will be coming out this week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but on that show
JT
at least,
and our good friend.
yeah, but on that show we present both points of view. So if somebody wants to get pissed at me about that, what I say on the show,
Right.
I can
Well,
say I'm the producer of the show. I'm bringing you frickin' Lance who toes the MAGA line. So just all right. You want
wait a
to
while
check?
and something else will come up and all along those lines.
Let's check in
What
with
other
Doctor.
things are you seeing? I know I brought up a lot of news. Yeah, check in with Dr. Sharif. What's going on, Dr. Sharif? What's happening in Bangladesh?
I'm fine. Like in Bangladesh, we have elections. People have a lot of excitement and engagement for the elections. A lot of people engage in these things. There is a tension in between Bangladesh and India. But definitely, with my World Talent Economic Forum, we are organizing some innovative solutions like high quality diplomacy. I think I send you invitations to all with this Himalaya, Ganga, Padma, and Bay of Bengal. And in that region 600 million people. So what I see, we need better educations, better healthcare. We need to build up a regional peace, which is very important right now. You see from the cricket, Bangladesh cricket team, they did not send, Bangladesh cricket board did not send the cricket team to India. It's a political decisions. I think the sports cultures, educations, and other things, we should not focus on this politics. And most important thing is that the climate innovations is very important solutions for all of the South Asian community, because we will be highly affected by these climate things. Beside this, lot of innovations is happening, especially for artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and AI. You know that Indian scientists, they are very good at developing quantum computing and all of the things, and they are very good ally of USA. So with the collaborations of US large company, India also improving all of the things. So this kind of good cultures, with my relationship and with our research and innovation, I'm trying to deploying in Bangladesh. So hopefully through this process, it will bring more success. But what I see that Bangladesh social media and other things, they are also very upset with this US issues, specifically for the immigrations and other issues, because the USA banned 75 countries for immigrations. Bangladesh also part of these things. South Asian other four countries also part of this banning and other things. It may hamper the long time. And secondly, they are also introducing bond issues for Bangladeshi businessmen. This is also creating some sort of challenge in US and Bangladesh business relationship. And a lot of immigrant from Bangladesh and from India, from Pakistan, they live in USA, so they are also have some sort of challenge. Actually, the world right now, like if anything happen in USA, it create impact in Bangladesh, right? If something happen in
Yeah.
USA, it can be business, it can be immigration, it can be technologies. Positive things has impact, negative thing has impact. So I believe that we need to go for global diplomacy, and we have to care about global relationship. Thank you.
What's
No,
the
that makes
weather
sense.
like?
Hey,
So the U.S. is having a cold spell where 2/3 of the country has snow right now. Bangladesh, you guys, like you got the northern Bangladesh runs up into the foothills of the Himalayas, and then you guys run all the way down to the Bay of Bengal. Uh, so what's the weather? Is it winter there? Do you get
Yeah,
snow at
we
all?
have winter. We have winter, but few weeks ago, it was very bad for winter. Another important things, Bangladesh, because I go to grassroots level peoples and engage with them. Bangladesh weather protection or heat protection, not like USA. We have summertime. We have lot of hot weather. So even I see many old people died because of this winter. But our winter, like you are in California, Creek, right?
Yeah, California.
Yeah.
We haven't had snow in California in 70 years. In Southern Cali, in Los Angeles, we haven't had snow in since 1948. So
Okay.
it
Okay.
does.
Yeah. Actually, I see a lot
Wow.
of Asian people in California. I think the California weather and Bangladesh weather or Asian weather almost same. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it's almost same. Yeah.
Very
How I
similar
see.
weather. Hey, just this is for both of you, and Jacoby may want to jump on this conversation as well. But I did see that there was a new agreement around wind, and I know that you're very much into technology and research, Dr. Sharif. So, what is your thoughts about this wind agreement that has just been approved by some of the European countries? So it looks like they're going to spend a lot of money on wind research and trying to get more people to be into wind versus solar power, and definitely being on the gas and other things that are in that category.
How I see this global tension and other things, this wind power, what you were discussing, also solar energy or hydrogen, it will be the future. It's green, it's affordable, and people always welcoming this kind of things. Also, in terms of government diplomacies and the largest corporations, when I work with Petronas, I see that Petronas has some large contributions through this solar project, even though they are oil and gas company. So now even oil and gas company, they are also investing in wind power. So I believe that it's very applicable, and even in Asia, I'm observing a very small scale, but it's happening, this wind power. And another important aspect for me, because when Donald Trump go with this things, deal baby deal, even if you see this World Economic Forum, this time conference and the discussion, you can find that all of the global leader, they do emphasize on global diplomacy and the global peace or this tension. They do not discuss about the climate things, climate innovations and other things. All of the leaders, it's from France, it's from UK, it's from USA, it's from all of the global leaders. So even though many of the corporation is trying, but USA has major impact when US has right-wing government, and this right-wing government do not believe in climate change. So maybe these green deals or the green business, it will not go through in a positive way.
I want to bring up something that I read about in the LA Times today, which is the Trump's Department of Education has shut down rape investigations on college campuses. So, campus is there. There are a lot of sexual assaults on college campuses. That you got young people unsupervised for the first time. You got alcohol. The people are going to get assaulted. And the DOE has in the past, and so some colleges will try to shut down rape investigations because it reflects badly on the school. And it used to be the DOE would step in. It was they never did it adequately, but they would. But now things are at a virtual standstill, shut down. They've only investigated 10 rapes in the past, year on all college campuses. They're much more interested in, they're more on the side of the accused now, that they're looking at instances in which students have been accused of rape who are claiming that it was, unfair. And so that's a mess and completely consistent with kind of Trump's, the way he does stuff.
It's a horrible agenda when you turn away to turn away from victims and you normalize the crime, and that's pretty much what they're doing, is normalizing rape. They're just saying there's nothing wrong with it. It was a mutual consent. Florida has a very unusual law. If you get a chance to even take a quick look at the book I published right after Epstein released the files fully redacted, we had discovered court records that were used for those files and that shared information with them that had not been redacted at the time. They were just a bunch of court cases against Epstein from an attorney general. And so if you take a look in there, you're going to see some of the dialogue discussing some of this. But they in Florida, they have a law that says a minor is a prostitute. Okay.
It says
if a
what?
minor is so, and what they do, and Epstein and Trump, and they all know this law very well. But if the minor gets paid for having sex, then she is considered a prostitute and did prostitution, and she is guilty of a crime. She's a minor. And most of these minors were 11 to 13 and after they had sex with them or were grooming them to have sex with them, which you can read, every one of the 11 to 15-year-old girls all had the exact same story, and these girls didn't even know each other, but had the identical same story, is after he would have sex with them, Epstein or whoever, they would hand the girls $200 in cash. Now, these girls are just innocent girls, and they're going to tell the truth. Did you get paid? Yes. How much? $200. Well, now you're a prostitute. So nobody really stood up for these girls, but it's the laws. It's these laws that the way they're written that protect the wealthy with the crimes that they're doing. And they know these laws. It's like the book Perfectly Legal. Once you know the laws and know how to use them to your benefit, you can. So these girls, once they say it's no big deal, you're raped, it's not illegal, then you can't fight it. Once you take away a person's right to fight these things, then it becomes chaos, and it becomes the legal right of usually the wealthy, the ones who are making the laws. What was interesting in the Epstein saga was when he finally was released from jail in 2000, I think it was around 2010, he was supposed to spend 18 months, and he pretty much did work release for 13 months. When he walked out of there, he was wealthier than when he walked in, and he was able to buy another island, a couple more mansions, and things like that. But what was interesting to me was the governor and his wife in the Virgin Islands try to change the laws so that a sex offender didn't have to report when they travel, because it was preventing Epstein from traveling. And they actually have email and text messages between him and them saying, what in this law can we change to make your life better? And it was, pedophile laws, right? The being on a register for being a pedophile. So that's what you have to prevent. One is you have to make sure that the laws enforce and protect the people and people from becoming a victim. But if they do become a victim, that they have a right to seek law enforcement of some kind, justice of some kind. And so when you adjust the laws, which is something Trump does, the minute he comes in office, the second, you can go back to 2017 or 16 and see all of this, is the minute he goes into office, immediately he disbands all the laws that protect victims. Like he disbands the funding for domestic violence victims. He disbands the laws that protect consumers' rights. He immediately disbands that organization and department that protects consumers. So that's what you have to look at, is what laws are still around to protect you. But yeah, Rick, I agree with you. This is nonsense. What's protecting the people from becoming a victim? Nothing.
So, and I just looked it up to see how long Epstein, because Epstein you're right, that he was doing this for a long time and he knew his way around the law. And I saw a Reuters article that he may have been abusing girls as early as 1985.
Yeah, so you could go
Right.
back to when he started working at the first school that he worked at as a teacher. I've got the timeline written. I spent months and months writing this while I was reading the unredacted court records before they became, actually, they started redacting them. I actually downloaded them before they got to all of them. But in the timeline, I match a lot of that. And you can go back to then, and he was asked to leave the school. They didn't want a lot of publicity on the situation, but he was asked to leave. But at that time, he had already made enough content tax with the mega rich, and he got himself into stock trading.
I want to bring up one more thing. That it's not a huge point, but people on the Trump side try to muddy the waters by dragging as many other people into Epstein world as possible. And like QAnon likes to say that Hollywood elites like Tom Hanks, they kidnap babies and they either use their blood or they eat them. It all tries to muddy the waters. My former boss was lumped in with this because my former boss likes barbecue. He likes meat, and he became friends with a chef. And this chef had, decades earlier worked as a chef on Epstein Island. Did chefs know what was going on the island?
They were kept in a different room. And if you look at the island, they actually had a ritual room on the island. Actually, you can go back to 1975, maybe, when he started working as a physics teacher at the Dalton School. So I'm looking at my own timeline.
So
and this is what's been great, because anytime anyone brings something up, I can do that. But you can look at police records that go back as far as 1992 that were issued against him or Trump, but nobody ever followed through, including the FBI.
You were able to look at these very old legal documents that were so old that nobody thought to redact them.
No. Actually, some of these documents existed in 22. They're new. They subpoenaed Elon. These were new court cases that were going on from the time Epstein was first arrested again the second time, and the state attorney general on the islands out there in the Virgin Islands started filing a lawsuit, and then she got fired for doing that. That lawsuit continued and is still on the books. But in 2023, they actually show issuing a a subpoena to Elon. Elon was the only one who was, when they finally caught him, he was dodging big time, and it was said in the courts, he's dodging. He's the only one, when he responded with his response to interrogatories, I guess is what you would call it. His were 100% sealed.
So let's talk about the Dalton School for a second. You said he started working as a physics teacher.
Yep.
Just a regular.
He didn't have a college degree either. Right, he was just very smart.
The Dalton School is a fancy Manhattan private school, and that's where I'm sure he starts networking. Well, so
if you look at the Dalton School, there's the headmaster was Barr, and Barr brought him on board. Well, Barr's son has worked for Trump for over the years, so you can look at Donald Barr wrote a book, and they say that his book, which is a sci-fi book, was the playbook for Epstein and Ghislaine and Trump. It was their playbook to build this society that built sex slaves out of children. You can go read the book. I haven't read the book. I'm too scared to. But he published a book. But it was in, I think, Epstein works in 1975. Epstein was a math and physics teacher. Now he didn't even graduate from college. He actually left high school 2 years early and went to a university. So then he went from that university. He met Barr and Barr hired him in. Now, Barr's son has protected Epstein his whole career. And Barr's son has also worked directly for the presidents. He has worked as the state attorney general for Trump, or as an attorney general. He was an attorney general for Trump. So all of these people, if you look at the timeline, and this is what I started piecing together, all of the people who have ever protected Epstein, ever, were rewarded by Trump with some kind of an appointment over the years. And now the major law firm that has always stood by Epstein now works for Trump. That's Kirkpatrick and Ellis. They now work for Trump and have an appointment by Trump. But all of their attorneys and all of Epstein's attorneys have always had some sort of relationship with the president somewhere. It doesn't mean the president was associated. It just means that these men got their way in up the ladder. If you look in the timeline and all of the documented evidence that we have, it was stated by Acosta, who was also an attorney general at one time. It was stated by Acosta that Epstein worked for the CIA. So if you go back,
hold on. So Donald Barr, the guy who was headmaster of Dalton, so he writes this book called Space Relations, which
is about society of oligarchs.
So a science fiction novel about a planet ruled by oligarchs who engage in child sex slavery. So okay, so that's creepy. And also Donald Barr apparently,
it's all right here in this book. It's very simple to read. Very simple.
So Donald Barr also worked for the OSS. The OSS in World War II was the spy agency that later turned into the CIA. So
CIA, right.
There's a lot of creepy stuff going on right there.
So then they introduced Epstein into the CIA, and Epstein did have a CIA pass. Epstein stayed side by side with Donald Barr's son. One of them, he had two sons, but he and his son kind of overlooked Epstein for many, many years and protected him. And he was also one of the first big law officials, like minutes after Epstein was found dead at the prison, to identify the body. And he really should have been in DC at the time, but he just happened to be there to be able to walk in and identify the body. And then, put together an investigation. And, a lot of people were very like, wow, that's weird. Where did he come from? He needs to be in DC. So Donald Barr had two sons.
Tell people, all right, you got this book. What's it called? How do they get it?
So it's called The Epstein Files Unredacted Collections. So this will be book one. I have 3 books. In the book, it's the timeline that I was just doing. It's just a draft. It's not really really fancy. I had to throw some dialogue in there to get it published with Amazon, but they published it rather than making me wait 3 days. They published it right away. It's very short read, and it's the timeline I put together. Books 2 and 3 are all of the names, not just the names that were released a few months ago or 6 months ago. When the news reports released the names, these are all of the names that I was able to pull out of the court records, and how they associate or relate. A lot of the celebrity names were just names that Epstein would use. In here, you're going to learn about people and activities that they were doing that all of a sudden appear to be in correlation to what Epstein's doing, like Michael Johnson. Interesting enough,
Mike Johnson of the Speaker of the House?
Oh, yeah. Big time associate with pedophiles. Very, very big time. And I discovered all of it in here. He was associated with Judge Pressler, who was at the Southern Baptist Church for many, many years. And he was accused of raping little boys. And Mike was at the time on the ethics committee for the Southern Baptist Church. Well, he defended and helped settle some of the cases, and that was in 2004 to probably 2008. And around 2010, about the same time Epstein's coming out of prison, Judge Pressler and Mike go and open up a Christian private school. And it never taught classes for 2 years. They collected a lot of money. It had dorms and everything. I felt like it was a good funneling school for the girls that were being trafficked from Romania. Well, 2010 was the same time Erica Kirk and Trump worked together and opened up the charity and nonprofit organization in Romania. So you look at that. Now they have a place to funnel their kids. Well, Epstein comes out. He's always been the mastermind. Epstein was always the mastermind. The first thing he made everyone do is open up nonprofits and charities because they made a good cover up for all of their transactions, but they were all tax free. So he's coming out of prison. The school is set up. You have a charity luring little girls. They gave teddy bears and toys to little girls in Romania. And for 2 years, these two places operated, but the school never taught a class. It never enrolled a student. And then you had Joel Greenberg and Matt Gaetz. You know who Matt Gaetz is,
Yeah.
right? So they partnered up at the same time, and they were sex trafficking and drug trafficking, but they were sex trafficking girls from Romania. That's how they got busted. Joel went to prison, Matt didn't. And then Matt, Trump tries to reward Matt by giving him a position, but the ethics committee of our Congress wouldn't allow that to happen. But they
All
still.
right, so look, I have a question. Then we should probably move back to. This is available at the Pod TV bookstore, I assume.
Well, not really on the Pod TV. Mark hasn't put it on there yet, but I just published it on Amazon on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And you can get it. It's simple reading. It's all just a timeline and then some dialogue,
Right.
and then some blank pages to do your own. And then I'm going to try to start a talk show about it next week.
All right. So I have here's my question. So Matt Gaetz, he got kicked out. He had to resign from Congress. He couldn't be attorney general because he paid a high school senior who was, I guess, 17 at the time, like $300 basically for sex.
So go Google Matt Gaetz.
All right, but my question, here's my question about all these guys. So, you could legally get in most states, I guess, with 18-year-old young women. And it's creepy if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever, but it's legal. What was the deal that Epstein had this billion-dollar empire? What's the freaking deal with needing to get with a 16 or a 17-year-old?
It's not even 16 or 17. His preference, when you read the depositions, especially of Jesslyn's and stuff like that. But when you read the depositions, his preference was 11 to 13. And 13 was his.
All right. So he's super creepy. But like guys like Gaetz,
That's Trump.
Why can't these sex creeps be satisfied with 18 and 19-year-old women? Why do they need to get with the 16 and 17? And what's the freaking deal when it?
I don't know, unless it's something that triggered him when he was younger. He was a genius. Don't take me wrong, of a sick genius. But he graduated high school 2 years early. When you start seeing the trends, they hired him before he didn't even graduate from college and made him a teacher, which in a private school, that's unheard of. I know, because I have families who work in schools. So it's not 100% unheard of, but it's rare. And then he started working for the ultra rich. So I think there's a lot to the book that Donald Barr wrote that I will sit down and read one day. But who knows? Why not go for the older women? But what I will say is that it was a huge international trade. I don't know why the international police haven't put a bounty on some of these pedophiles, and maybe they should, like Trump, and then make them held accountable in court. But what is interesting to me is they transacted trillions of dollars hidden behind charities and nonprofits, and the IRS still let him take tax write-offs of those businesses. And Epstein, the year after he died, received $120 million tax refund from one of those businesses. What is wrong with that picture? Are they all involved? Are they all in cahoots? Why did Les Wexner assign full power of attorney of both his businesses and his personal life, everything, and just gave it to Epstein? Les Wexner, the founder of Victoria's Secrets and Bath Body Works Unlimited. He gave everything to Epstein, including the first hub that he used, which was a mansion in Manhattan. And that's where him and Trump him and Trump hooked up before then. But that's where the big stuff started happening between there and Mar-a-Lago. So,
all right, we should probably move back to current events. We've spent
sorry about that, but it's all in a book.
So, do you think the Epstein files will ever be fully released?
So they can be. I mean, I have copies of all of the court records because I downloaded as much as I could. It was millions of pages, and so it was a lot of data to download and store. And I stored it more in one place in case somebody put a hit on me. But they're real, and everybody says, "Well, why did you get them and nobody else?" It was hard. It was hard. It was not easy to go and dig up, and no journalist is going to do that if Trump is going to release them unredacted, which he didn't. I didn't believe he would, but I sat back and waited to see would he or wouldn't he. And, you can go see for yourself. But what I did do is I left the links that we used to the real court records in the book. And then you can go there and see, and you can see when they started redacting them, which was in June of last year. They started hitting, going into them. And then I downloaded mine, and you can compare the two and see what was redacted and what wasn't. There was some redacted, but the redactions that were there before Trump got a hold of them were to protect the victims, not to protect the guilty. It was to protect the victims because redactions were not just, redactions were required to protect children. Now that all of the women have stepped forward, they are actually asking for the records to be released unredacted, but all of them have to do it. And there are hundreds, thousands of victims. In one of the testimonies by the bookkeeper that worked with Jean-Luc Brunel and Epstein, they partnered. They would keep constantly over 200 girls in a set of apartments that they had. And there would consistently be 200 girls kept there at all times. And then he had several estates where he kept women, not just the Epstein Island, but he bought a second island to protect his island. So he bought a second island after he got out of jail the first time.
So what you're saying, if you are new to this stuff, sounds crazy, but the FBI itself says that there were more than 1,000 victims, which is just a fantastic number, an insane number of victims.
So it generated trillions of dollars a year, and this is what was attractive to Trump. Trump is attracted to what generates money. And what's perfectly legal. If you read the Johnson's books on Trump, because he followed Trump for years, he's going to do whatever is legal that can perfectly legal, skims around the outskirts of legal. But he's going to do that. But it generates trillions and trillions of dollars a year. Child sex trade. It's interesting to me, but everyone in Epstein's world, eventually Epstein built it up that he had a rule, billionaires only. Well, this was about the time that him and Trump had a falling out, because him and Trump competed against everything right down to buying that mansion in Miami. So that falling out, to me, I think was really more about Epstein shunning Trump a little bit and saying, no, it's billionaires only in my network. He mostly white, wealthy men. I got to read a lot of the emails between him and JP Morgan. JP Morgan, a lot of the executives questioned having him there, but a lot of the big ones turned their head because he generated too much money, and they all paid visit to Epstein's Island.
I want to talk about Trump's sexual assault style for a second. So if you take women's studies, I don't know, I took it freaking 40 years ago. And back then, and I assume it's still the same now, that when you talk about rape, they talk about rape as not a sex crime, but a power and dominance crime. Yeah. That a lot of that rape isn't because the guy wants to have an orgasm, it's because the guy wants to express dominance. And so for some people, maybe so. If Trump is certainly of that type of rape. Maybe there are other types of rape where guys really do want to get off, but Trump, there are 26 women have accused him of rape. Plus
there's thousands.
All right, but 26 women plus E. Jean Carroll have, plus his wife, his first wife, Ivana, have put their accusations on paper. You can read their stories. And when Trump sexually abuses, harasses, rapes, it's never really about having him having sex. It's always him grabbing, humiliating, looking up, putting hands on, looking up skirts. It's about power and domination rather than sexual pleasure. It's about humiliating the woman and showing that he is in charge. He has the power.
So if you read some of the depositions and police reports when the girls were little girls, I hate saying it this way, but Epstein was a little gentler, kinder, rewarding to the little girls. Him and Trump would compete against who would cause the girl to lose her virginity first, right? So there was a competition there, but you would hear the testimonies of the little girls, and if a little girl cried with Trump, he would slap her, physically slap her. Epstein was never known to slap any of his victims, ever. They were still victims, don't get me wrong, but his style was different. Very different. It was more of, give her $200. If she never comes back, that's fine. If she comes back, reward her more, give her a car, give her an apartment, send her flowers. The houseman kept a diary, a day timer.
So what you're saying is that maybe Epstein actually liked his victims. He liked exploiting them. He raped them, but he also Trump tends to have contempt for the people that he sexually attacked. He would do it.
I know that sounds stupid. Epstein, again, is a genius. He's very, very smart. Okay. Very smart. Trump is not. And he gets insulted very easy. And I think anyone of an 8th grade level could be smarter than Trump and insult him very easy. But a crying little girl was just an easy target for him to slap. So when you read the police reports, those are raw. I cried through the police reports. So if you read the police reports, they're as raw as you get. They are the official. When the girls, came forward, sat down and started telling their stories. And it was the attorney general who kind of poo-pooed their case and only turned it into a settlement for Epstein as a one-time, prostitution with a minor rather than 40 rapes. And this pissed off the police department because the police department put a lot of work into investigating it. And it was the Miami Police Department who the first time ever decided, you know what, screw that this is a millionaire or a billionaire. We're going to investigate it. We're going to incarcerate these people. We're going to arrest them. So many police departments and the FBI got cases filed to them and they ignored them because of who was on the charges. And I think those people are guilty too.
Are you talking about, there was a 13-year-old girl who sued Trump and then eventually she was intimidated and withdrew her charges. And then a few years passed and she got pissed off again, and she tried to go back in. And again, she was like, kind of, it's hard for an abuse, a rape victim to come forward, because people know that they're going to be put through the ringer, even though they're the accuser. Their whole sexual history is going to be, trotted out to.
The DA and the Attorney General pissed me off when they told 11 to 13-year-old girls, "You're a prostitute. You're a prostitute. You're wrong. You can go to jail because you took $200 from this man." And the man didn't seduce them with $200. He tipped them $200 after he had sex with them, because it's the law in Florida that if you pay someone, regardless of how old they are, for sex and they accept the money, then they are guilty of prostitution.
And that law remains in force. It hasn't been changed.
It has not been changed. Bondi kept it in force. So, yeah. So,
now,
and
do other states have this law? Or
I don't know. I know that in North Carolina.
Did Epstein find out about this law and move his operations down there to take it?
He's a genius. He knows the laws of everything before he engages them. He knows everything inside and out. He knew exactly how to fight everything and where to position himself. I hate saying it, but he was a genius.
All right, well, let's talk about genius for a second. There's this guy, Keith Raniere, who did NXIVM. That's the guy who he established himself as a genius, and then he started a sex cult. That guy, and there have been like 3-4 documentaries about that guy. He's in prison for life unless an appeal works, but I think he might have. But anyway, that's another guy who established his credentials as a genius, then got tied up with the Bronfman family with their billions of dollars, caused them to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. He started the sex cult where his harem, they would brand themselves with his initials. So this is
this is a cult. I think that there are several. It is a multi-trillion-dollar revenue generating worldwide. What was interesting to me was it all became so complicated when I was just looking at it. I stumbled on it on accident, doing a background check on someone, and the files just kept growing. And I became more interested. And I'm like, oh my God, these are actual unredacted, and when you read the court files, there is a part in there where they ask the judge, can we share information with the DOJ on the Epstein file investigations? And the judge agrees that it's more efficient to do that.
Why haven't other people done this? Why haven't reporters done the work?
Because it's a whole lot easier to be having a dangled carrot in your face, and you think that all the homework's going to be done on the Epstein files, and it's not. It's not going to be spelled out for you. You're going to have to read those cases anyway. They're all the same cases, but they're thinking, it's going to be released to tell a story.
To any reporters and said, hey,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is just me. This was my homework. And then I got pissed that they pretty much crapped in everyone's face, not slapped it, but crapped in your face by spending millions of dollars, tax dollars, redacting those files to protect Trump and his friends. And when you start piecing together the timeline of other events that were occurring at the time, you're going to see it's a big cult that just keeps coming together every once in a while. They may separate for a while so people don't see it, but then they start evolving together. And it's interesting to watch. I still believe somewhere Epstein still exists because they needed his brain. I don't care what anyone says. Trump learned from him. Period. And you need to read. And my book is just a timeline of data collected, plus my dialogue about it, because I had to put some kind of dialogue to get it published. So
I got to go. Thank you for talking about it.
I have to go, but I'll send you a link to the book. Get the soft copy because the links are easier to click to.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry I used up all the time.
No, it was interesting.
It's interesting that nobody else has looked it up. So, but everyone take care.
Bye.
Bye.